Hello, my name is Lisa Honka, and I'm the owner of Your Key to Senior Living Options. For the last couple years, we've been interviewing those members of TLC, and today we are joined by Dr. Jim Deutsch. He is going to be talking about guilt as a decision, and this is really poignant, I think, with the population that I work with, seniors who are thinking about perhaps moving their loved ones to an assisted living or memory care. And this is going to be covering the guilt that sometimes those caregivers, the adult children, are struggling with as they're beginning to think about placement down the road of their loved one into perhaps assisted living or memory care. And I'm excited to be joined by Dr. Jim. He comes with a wealth of knowledge. I'm going to tell you a little bit of background about him for those of you who have joined us today for the first time. Dr. Jim Deutsch is a published author. He's a lecturer. He's a licensed clinical social worker, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel, and former college professor. Dr. Deutsch serves as the vice president of TLC Services, a nonprofit organization of retired mental health professionals. This organization operates through donations to provide free mental health services to the villagers. And we are very, very lucky to have you join us today. Thank you, Dr. Jim, for joining us. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. I know this is a journey that you walked personally, and I'm excited to hear the tips that you're going to give those listeners today. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. And at the end, Dr. Jim will be able to answer some questions for you, both in the chat box, and also if you raise your hand, he'll be able to call on you. So again, thank you, Dr. Jim, for joining us today.
Lisa, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really thrilled to be here. I know that most of us value time. And what I want to do today is make your time worthwhile. So what I would like to do is put a few slides on that I think are important and reminders. And then I hope that we have a conversation, because that's what's really important. And as we begin to talk about things that bother us, like guilt, then we begin to understand what's going on and things get better. So if you're willing, let's have a conversation. But first, allow me, if you would, please, to put a few slides on so that we are all kind of like marching to the in the same direction. Is that all right with everybody? Oh, I heard a loud yes. Okay. So let's go ahead now. Guilt is a decision, which is something that maybe you hadn't thought of it that way, but we'll have our conversation. Okay, slide, please. I think it's important that we talk about the definition of guilt. So I put one down that I like. Guilt is an uncomfortable and negative feeling brought on by negative judgments of one's contemplated or actual actions. An uncomfortable negative feeling. So if that's a okay enough definition, I think we let's see what's on the next slide. Okay, well, the idea of placing a loved one into professional care can cause guilt. And I think that even if you pretty much know what you have to do, there is a little bit of pain that goes along with that. So we'll be talking about what Lisa said, guilt as related to placing our loved ones into memory care, or I'll call it professional care, because it could be more than just memory. Okay, next, please. Now, I need you to know that only good people feel guilty. You know, bad people don't give a damn how they make others feel. So if you've got this feeling of guilt inside of you, you're one of the good people. Okay? That's very important to realize. If you have guilt, then you're one of the good guys. Next. Now, guilt doesn't have to be rational. And a lot of times it is, and sometimes it's irrational. But it's sometimes just got guilt and you don't know why. And that's okay too, but you need to begin to work on why I'm feeling and thinking this way. Next, please. Now, behind every feeling of guilt, there's a normal psychological reason. In other words, if you are feeling guilt, it's normal, okay? So if you get upset about what you're feeling, you got to go back and take another look. If you don't have guilt, that means that you could, and I'm talking over a life, you may be a sociopath, huh? No, none of us. We are all having normal feelings for reasonable and good psychological reasons, okay? It's just a normal thing. Next, please. Now, you might feel guilty, especially in our situation, for a number of reasons. Here are 4 that seem to always be around. Anticipate or already have broken a spoken or unspoken promise never to place a loved one into a care facility. And you know, when you're in love, especially when you're healthy, and then things begin to happen, you make promises. And sometimes we make promises that we want to keep, that we believe we can keep, whether spoken or unspoken, but it's not working out that way. Another reason is you might be feeling like you have or are going to be committing abandonment. To abandon someone that you love or that you care about, that good people don't like to do. Or you might even think you didn't do enough, or you're not doing enough. I should do more. But sometimes you're doing the best you can do. And the last one that I would think about is that you did somebody wrong in some way or other by placing them, or even thinking about it. You're doing someone wrong. And, you know, we need to talk about that. Next slide, please. So, you know, you have to think that what's your somebody done somebody wrong song? Remember way back, gang, when B.J. Thomas was, he was on the top of the charts. I think Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. He also sang that song. But worrying about doing somebody wrong, good people often wrestle with that. Okay, next. So if you're feeling guilt about professional placement, ask yourself the following question, okay? Next. How can you feel guilty if you want or are giving your loved one better care than you can give? That better care is a step up for your someone. We got to think about that. And I'll repeat myself, this is important. How do you justify feeling guilty if you want or are giving your loved one better care than you can give? We all need to think about that. Okay, next. Now, as we look around our community here in Central Florida, I find there's always a more expensive care facility out there. No matter what you look, there's always a more expensive place out there. It just is. So what you're looking for is an affordable facility where there's love, dignity, and respect, okay? Because the more money you spend, you may not be getting a better deal. But love, dignity, and respect are so important. They really, really are. But you know that. Next, please. Now, it's time to talk. What I gave you was an overall idea, and we all have, and it was, as Lisa said, I've been there, and we each have our own "somebody done somebody wrong" song, and that's okay. So, what I'd like to do, see, I found the real experts in any area of mental health I could talk about are not the people on this side of the camera with the slides, but the real smart people are the ones in the audience listening. And every time I give a talk or interact, I learn something because I learn from the smart people.